I'm a single mom of a 3-year-old little girl. I work full-time as a phlebotomist, commuting an hour each way. My name is Madison, and I'm a miraculous mama.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Miraculous Mamas podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Joy, and we believe in empowering women through storytelling and education. Last week, Chelsea Axe was on talking about natural family planning, which was so fascinating to me because I didn't know too much about it. And now it's an option that I'm seriously considering. Like I said before, Vito and I had just used condoms, and it'd be kind of nice to try another method. And I'm definitely going to look into that daisy thing that she was talking about because it does sound really cool. And I'd like to hear from you guys. If any of you guys have tried that, how did it work for you? What did you find the easiest or not? I'm still learning so much about it. And then we dove into health and pregnancy and those things that you shift along the way. And I know that we had talked about switching over things in your home. There's so many chemicals and hormone disruptors in our home that we don't even think of. And it's something to start when you're trying to conceive, start eliminating those out of your life. And then if you already do have kids, again. So I forgot to mention last week, I do have a YouTube series on preparing your body to try to conceive, but I talk a lot about the big disruptors in your life. There's certain foods, there's certain pollutants, there's certain chemicals, things like that. And I have a few videos out on what those are, and also starting some recipes on sharing with you guys how I made my homemade dry shampoo, which I love so much. Also, my homemade all-purpose cleaner and a few other things that I use in home and have switched over. So definitely check out my YouTube series. Guys, I don't remember the name of it right now, but I think it's just Elizabeth Joy. If you look it up on YouTube, you'll probably find me. Sorry, I don't remember the name of it. But I had so much fun talking with her. And then today, I am so excited to be talking to Ariel Tyson. She is a mom of 5 boys. She's pregnant with her 6th kid. She does homeschooling. She had hospital births, home births, and is somebody that we can learn so much from. I'm very fascinated in just learning all different lifestyle choices. And so we haven't talked to anybody about homeschooling yet. And it's something that I'm super fascinated in. I have no idea right now what Vito and I will end up doing. Like, we have so many things out on the table. We're like, maybe we will homeschool, maybe we won't. So I have no idea how life's going to pan out for us right now. But it's so good to learn and get other people's experiences and opinions and just why they made the choices and how it's affected them and why they love it and things like that. It's so important to gather all of that information so, again, we can make the best educated decisions for ourselves. So I just enjoy having this conversation with her, and she's just a breath of fresh air. She's so much fun to talk to. And we answer a lot of those questions that typical people ask about home birth and homeschooling. So if that's something that you're planning on doing and you get people asking you like, but what if, or why? And Ariel goes over a lot of that with us and gives us tons of information. Before I get her on, don't forget to join our Miraculous Mamas Facebook group, check out the Instagram, and follow us on Twitter. But I'm going to grab Ariel. All right, everybody, I have Ariel Tyson here, and I'm so excited to have her on. I found her on Instagram and started stalking her and was like, I have to try to get this lady on the podcast because she just has just so much information on her page. She has 5 kids and 1 on the way, which my husband would say is goals. So he's like, I want 5 kids. He's like, just put your head down and keep having them. That's all we're going to do. And she does homeschooling, which I'm super excited to talk to her about. She's into oils, which I am as well. And she lives in Montana, which is one of my favorite places. So thank you so much for being here, Ariel. And I'm just so excited to talk to you about motherhood and life.
Yeah, thank you so much. We actually moved to Montana a little over 6 years ago now. We're from the southeast part of the U.S., so very different and a lot warmer.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, a lot warmer. We came here with 2 kids, and I was 30 weeks pregnant with my third. And since then, we are going on, I guess, 4 Montana kids. And they are all boys so far, but we do not know what number 6 is. And I am due in about 12 weeks. So that's been fun. We started homeschooling while here in Montana. That's been a whole other thing that we have taken on along with me working, because I work from home. And yeah, love that. This will be my 4th home birth. And my first 2 were hospital births in North Carolina. And then all of the Montana babies will be home births.
Yeah, how fun. So I would love to ask you, so since you have 5 boys, did you ever feel like you had like a little grieving when you didn't have a girl?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And that is a question I actually get a lot from people on Instagram that are too ashamed to say it themselves.
Right.
So I'll get little messages like, I know I shouldn't feel this way, and I can't talk to my friends about it because they would tell me to just get over it and be happy for a healthy baby.
Mm-hmm.
But there is that desire for that relationship with a daughter. And both my husband and I have that. And so we just have that desire. So anytime that I don't have one, I'm like, I wonder if it'll even be possible for us.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think I definitely talk a lot about that on my Instagram because I feel for families that have all of the same gender that get the comments when they might already be grieving. And so I think it's an extra painful situation. So someone who has all girls that might be really desiring for a boy, and someone who has all boys too. So yeah, I definitely feel that. And I think it's something that we need to be aware of, and that it's okay to have a little bit of grieving and to go through that. So,
well, because it's not even a question that you love your babies. Like, of course you're going to love your baby. Of course you're going to be excited about them. Like, it's not like, oh, I'm going to shun you because you weren't a girl. It's, of course, you carried that baby, you gave life to them, and you would die for them. Like, you love them so much. But there is that, I have a friend who just found out she's pregnant with her 4th son. And she carried this one different, and she was just totally thought it was going to be a girl, and they found out it was a boy. And she's like, same, like, I feel bad, like, obviously I know I'm going to love my kid, and she's like, I want to be done having kids if I know I'm just going to keep having boys. But if there's a chance of having a girl, I want to keep trying for one. And it's like, you don't know.
Yeah. I think I get even more defensive of the baby. I think even more so just because we get so many comments from strangers. But I can definitely see how people feel that way. There's so many people who have extreme hurt over it, and they don't know how to express it. And then there's some of us who are just, hey, this is hard, but we're going to get through it. But yeah, exactly like your friend. It's just that kind of moment of, I wonder if we can even have another gender or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, so far, like, we have not tried for a girl. We tried for our first pregnancy, not for any gender, Everyone's like, oh, you're going to try for it? I'm like, well, I mean, we have babies and they're great, but we don't try for a specific gender. But yeah, it would be awesome.
Yeah. I wonder how true, like, any of that is, though, because I've also heard, like, there's certain things you can do, but ultimately it's not really in your control unless you're doing IVF and you can, like, pre-select the gender and stuff like that.
Right. My husband is one of 4 boys, and he has 1 sister. So
okay.
We totally expected that. Yeah, it definitely comes from them.
Yeah, my aunt and uncle have 5 boys and 2 girls, so you never know.
Yep.
All right, so I am a huge advocate of taking control of your health before it's too late, before you get bad news, before something happens, but none of us have perfect diets. We don't get enough of our nutrients from food, and nobody has a perfect, clean diet. There's things that are just completely out of control in our life. So I love the fact that we can take control on some level, and that's why I love Ritual. They are an obsessively researched vitamin for women, and they give you nutrients that a lot of us don't get from our food. They have 2 easy-to-take capsules that provide 9 nutrients that you need to support a strong foundation for your health. I love them because I actually have a very sensitive stomach when it comes to vitamins, and I can usually only take them after I've eaten a big full meal at the end of it, but they have easy to digest vitamins, and I don't have to eat a giant meal before I take them, and I've never gotten nauseous or felt sick from them. And you do see, I saw a shift in some of my energy levels and different things that maybe I didn't even know that I was deficient in. They have vitamin D, omega. The Essentials for Women helps fill those gaps in our diets. And again, they have the no nausea capsule, which is perfect for people like me. All of their stuff is vegan-friendly, sugar-free, non-GMO, gluten-free, and allergy-free ingredients. And their sources are out there for the whole world to see. That was another thing that I loved about the company, is you can actually go online, see where each ingredient was sourced from, which was so cool. So I'm taking a capsule every day that has ingredients that were sourced from all over the world, which is awesome. And you know what? Better health doesn't start overnight. But we can take a step right now into being a healthier version of ourselves. And right now, Ritual is offering the listeners 10% off during your first 3 months. Fill in the gaps in your diet with Essential for Women, a small step that helps support a healthy foundation for your body. Visit ritual.com/mamas to start your ritual today. That's 10% off during your first 3 months at ritual.com/mamas. So after you moved to Montana, what made you decide to do home births then?
So that story goes back actually with my first child. We were living in Georgia when I found out I was pregnant with him. I guess I should keep going way back, but we miscarried our first baby. And through that, I found out I had a birth defect that gave me a 90% chance to miscarry every time I get pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And it was a septum that lined my uterus. And so a reproductive endocrinologist found it, and she had been one of the people that had invented the surgery around 5 years before I had it. And so she did that surgery for me in Atlanta, Georgia. And then we moved when I was about 20 weeks pregnant to North Carolina. And when we moved, I had actually watched, you're going to laugh, but a episode of 19 Kids and Counting. And they were doing the Bradley method for that. And I said, hey, I'll just research it and we're going to see what we think. And I loved that it gave so much knowledge and information. And I was like, I'm still having an epidural in a hospital, but I want to take this class so I have more knowledge going into my first birth. And so we did. And by the end of the class, I was like, I'm going to try to do it without this epidural, but I'm still having a hospital birth. And so his was a very, very long labor. I ended up at the end with an epidural just for the last few hours. And it was a 37-hour labor.
Oh,
so
my
very
gosh.
long. Yeah. Crazy compared to my next several. But so I had him, and then because I had ended up with an epidural with my second, I was like, I'd like to try it again in the hospital, but make sure I can do it before I try a home birth. So I guess the Bradley Method class is what first introduced me to home births. I had several friends there that had went on to have those. So yeah, that's the first time I was introduced to it. And in North Carolina, it's pretty hard to have one. So hospital birth is generally the route that most people have to take. So I had my second, and it was a 10-hour labor, but went really well. Great labor. The doctor even sent me a letter after saying, thank you so much for letting me be a part of this natural birth. So that was awesome. And then I was like, okay, I'm planning to have my third at home, and I'll figure out how we're going to do this. Well, in the meantime, we found out we were moving to Montana, and Montana is an awesome place for that. My midwife has been practicing for over 40 years.
Oh,
so
amazing.
A lot of knowledge, highly respected by the doctors here. Definitely an accepted thing.
That's awesome. It's so not an accepted thing, though. And that's the hard part is a lot of It's almost like they're at opposite ends of the spectrum, but it's not. They're on the same team for a healthy mom, a healthy baby, for everything to go smooth,
Right.
So it's so cool
Just
when you see them working together.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I mean, I might have different views on things, but I have an OB that lives across the street from me. And so I told her whenever we moved in, hey, by the way, I'm having a home birth. And she's like, oh, honey, by now, you know what you're doing. You got it. And then I told her, she asked who the midwife was. And I told her, she's like, oh, yeah, you're just fine.
Uh-huh.
So that was super awesome just to have her support too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's how I ended up. Back when I was, I think, engaged or early married to my husband, he mentioned, have you ever thought about having a home birth? And his mom had 1 out of 5 kids. And I was like, do not put me in the same level as your mother. I cannot handle that home birth. And I just went off on him. And I was like, I will never do it without an epidural. Never say never. But going all the way back, yes, it was thought about way back then, but it took me a while to decide for myself.
That's so interesting, though, because a lot of women that I talk to who are very interested in having a home birth, their biggest opposition is their husband.
Yeah.
So the fact that he was like on board, because I was going to ask for your advice. How'd you get your husband on board?
Yeah, he was on board before I was. So he was very excited. So my third was born only 30 minutes before, after my midwife made it to the house. And so when I was pregnant with our fourth, which was my second home birth, she just kept saying, prepare your husband just in case I don't make it, because they're getting faster. Because it was 2.5 hours with my third.
Oh my gosh.
And so with my fourth, she's like, just get him ready. And he's like, no problem. Like, he would love it way more than me. Like, he would love if that happened. And then with my fourth, he was 15 minutes old before my midwife showed up.
Oh my gosh.
So he ended up, he's like, yeah, I delivered the baby. I was like, yeah, I had nothing to do with it. I wasn't even there at all. I'm like, so he enjoys that a lot more. I wish I could be more helpful with getting husbands on board, but yeah, he's very into that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've had some friends who've had trouble with it, but eventually they just took their husband to enough appointments with the midwife, I think, to convince him that it was legitimate.
Right. How about other people in your life? So that tends to be like something when you start telling people, I want to have a home birth. There's a lot of, it's weird. There's like a lot of, I want to say almost stereotype around it, but stereotype, like, it's not even like based on anything real, I guess.
Yeah.
So there's just like a lot of misinformation or assumptions around home birth. So like telling other people in your life, like, were they supportive of it?
Yeah, I think a lot of those assumptions come from when home birth was the only way. And so, yes, there were moms that died, but now there's moms that die or have problems in the hospital because all of them before had home births.
Right.
But also, I think, obviously medical advances have come a long way in every area, not just in the hospital, but in the home birth setting too. And I think for me, like, I did have a lot of people, friends and family, that think I'm crazy still. I think the more that at home births I successfully have, the more that they're comfortable with it. But I did have some people at first who are like, okay, but wait, what happens if this happens? Or what happens in this case? And I did my research. And so I know that in a healthy pregnancy, in a normal, low risk, healthy pregnancy, a mom is actually just as safer having the baby at home. But I did ask my midwife all of those questions, so I had those answers to give to people. And I think that's the best way to handle dealing with people who might be like, this is not safe, or you're crazy. So, one of the questions that I had from a lot of people were, if you had to have a C-section, then you had to make it to the hospital. Could you die like en route? Would something happen? And my midwife said, in the amount of time it takes the hospital to set up a C-section, like the operating room for a C-section, is the amount of time that I could have you at the hospital. So she, in her previous experience, because she's obviously dealt with that before, she has called the hospital immediately, and they have had it set up, and they've walked right into the operating room and had the baby. So, and they have, and the midwives have tools to handle, if moms have bleeding problems, where they're extreme, she has ways to handle that, and she can give, some Pitocin, or down to that area if she needs to, or whatever she needs to do. They have a lot of options that I think people don't realize that they have access to.
Right.
So I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of the way I think, me being able to handle the questions and say, yeah, I've asked that, and this is how the midwife will handle it, is the best approach for me.
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of people that just think the midwife shows up and starts ripping rags and boiling water and it's
yes,
okay, let's do this. But they have a huge bag of tools that they use, and some things it almost is beneficial because they have some of the things right there. Whereas if you're in the hospital, they actually have to go down the hallway to get them and come back or call for a nurse or whatever it is. So, and I think that it is super important to find, just in general, whether you're doing a midwife or an OB, just somebody who you feel comfortable with and who you can ask all those hard questions with, and that will support you, and that you trust this woman. Okay, I know that if anything went wrong, she's not going to be like, oh no, let's still continue to try this at home, even though you're at risk now,
Yes, exactly. That is the problem I keep seeing, is that have there been midwives that probably do that? I'm sure. I'm sure in the world, in the country, that do that. But I interviewed quite a few midwives before deciding on mine because I needed to know all of that. Okay, in this situation, would you decide it was time to go to the hospital, And I think that is key. No matter which provider you go with, yes, an OB, a midwife in the hospital, or at home, or a birth center. There's so many options, but do your research to know what's the best for you and your baby and what's going to make you feel the most comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to take a minute to tell you about an amazing company. I know that you've heard about their shoes from me. They make stylish, sustainable shoes. And guess what? They make bags now, too, for life on the go. They're carefully crafted with eco-friendly materials like repurposed plastic water bottles and marine plastic. And that is Rothy's. They are so amazing. Their shoes are incredibly comfortable with zero break-in period, thanks to their seamlessly knit design. With many chic styles to choose from, Rothy's shoes are the perfect pair for any adventure. And I can vouch for that because I have weird, wide, flat feet, and it's really hard for me to find it. Actually, I've never found a pair of comfortable flats until I bought a pair of Rothy's, and this is a true story. And I got a pair of really cute loafers. They're kind of like a purplish color, and I tried them on, and just like you do in the store with every pair of flats you try, and you're like, okay, I can walk around in a little bit, and you're like, oh yeah, these aren't bad. But once you take home that pair from the store, you go out, and an hour later, you're getting blisters, if you're like me. But with Rothy's, there was no break-in period. I wore them all day. My feet did not hurt at all. I had no blisters, and I was super excited to finally find the perfect pair of flats. They come in an ever-changing array of colors, prints, patterns. They're available in a range of different styles. They are seamlessly knit with thread made from plastic water bottles, so they're ultra comfortable as soon as you slip them on. And one Yahoo editor recently called them the most comfortable flats I've ever owned. And I can second that because they're the most comfortable flats I've ever known. And of course, we love companies that are sustainable and are doing good things in the world. And they have kept 50 million single-use plastic bottles out of landfills and transformed them into their signature thread, which is then knit into beautiful, sustainable products. And another major bonus is that the shoes are fully machine washable. Every time they need a refresh, you can simply toss them in the washing machine and keep them clean. And you know how hard it is to keep shoes clean, but they make it so easy for you. And their manufacturing workshops, they own and operate their workshops where they prioritize sustainability every step of the way. And they ship directly in their box, so no unnecessary packaging. Plus, now they got bags, guys. So check out all the amazing shoes and bags available right now at rothys.com/miraculous. That's rothys.com, rothys.com/miraculous. Comfort, style, and sustainability meet to create your new favorites. Head to rothys.com/miraculous today. So this will be your fifth home birth? No, your fourth home birth.
This will be my fourth home birth. I had 2
in the hospital.
Okay. And I've had 3 at home. The one that was born before my midwife arrived was actually born in the sack.
Oh, wow.
So my water never broke with him. So my husband he was the only one there. So he had to break the sack. That ended up being a crazy, awesome thing with him. And then my 5th baby, so my 3rd home birth, took a little bit longer. It was only like a 5-hour labor, but I was frustrated because I was used to a shorter one. So we'll see how this one goes.
Yeah. And did you have water births?
I had one, my first home birth, the 3rd baby, my first home birth was a water birth. I generally have found, and I think that's the key, finding what makes you comfortable, because I was told in childbirth class, okay, you can try this thing and this thing and this thing, and some things do not work. I hate being touched in labor. And so a lot of people do counter pressure. That is one of the worst things for me. And I actually had one of my apprentices try that last time, and my husband was like, she doesn't like it. You might want to stop. And she was looking at him like, why are you not doing this? And he's like, I promise I'm right where she wants me to be, a few feet away. So I think finding what works for you. For me, I really like being in the hot shower with the shower hitting my back, which is why I tend to go for that instead of the tub option. I like the tub being there if I want to have a water birth, but I generally like to walk around and stand and use the exercise ball. So that's always kind of been my thing. So I had one in the water, in the tub, one in the shower, and one just standing beside my bed. Yeah. So we'll see. Who knows?
Yeah, that's so funny. So how old is your oldest now?
He is 8.5. He will be 9 in May, and 6 days after I'm due. He's 8.5. And then the next one is 14 months younger. So they're only about a year apart. And then we have a 6-year-old, 4-year-old, and 2-year-old. And they're all between 18 to right at 2 years apart.
Yeah. How fun. So I'd love to talk about homeschooling a little bit and what made you decide to take that route.
So going way back, my husband and I actually both were homeschooled. I don't think that has as much weight on our decision as I might have initially thought when we were thinking about it, because I have taken it 1 year at a time and one step at a time and just figuring out what works for us. One of the biggest reasons for me is that my kids can learn in a way that works for them. And they are all very different learning styles. I have 2 with dyslexia. And with dyslexia in Montana, it was not even recognized as a learning disability until around a year ago. And so we're seeing a reading specialist, and she kind of recommended that I just learn how to work with them really well and homeschool them. And that is probably better than a school setting. But that came after I had already been homeschooling. So that's just another reason. But my main reason is, I have kids I have one that loves history, one that loves anything like writing, music, creative, different ones that love sports, obviously, the athletics. But we have time to focus on the areas that they love. I have one that's really good at languages and really loves learning those. So I think for me with homeschooling is we can get the basics done at their pace, but then they can explore other options of areas that they love. And then we also have time freedom. My husband is a pastor. And so his schedule is he takes off on Fridays instead of like your typical weekend. So we can take off on Fridays, and then we do school on Saturday. So that's just another thing. And then, if we need to travel, our family lives on the opposite side of the country from us. So when we need to travel, we can take books with us or take a break and come back to it. So those are kind of some of the main reasons for me. I loved being homeschooled. I ended up graduating high school a year early because of being homeschooled and working really hard. And I think that set me up for life a little bit better. And so I guess that is just one of the reasons that goes with exploring things that you love. I got to do a lot more that I loved growing up because I had the freedom to do it.
Right. Yeah. Well, sometimes when you're just like in school and taking all the things you have to, then it's like you turn 18 and it's like, okay, decide what you want to do with your life. And it's like, I haven't even had time to explore. Like, I love so many different things. How am I supposed to know like what to do? I still think 18 is way too young to decide what you want to do with your life. But
yeah, it is.
Yeah. And so I'm going to ask some of the typical homeschooling questions for you.
Okay.
What do you do? How do you make sure that your kids are socialized?
Yes, that is a great question. We get asked that a lot. Like, aren't homeschool kids weird? And I'm like, there are a lot of weird people in this world, both homeschooled, public schooled, private schooled.
Right.
There's just weird people in all avenues. But yeah, so my kids, I would say, might be like a bit too socialized sometimes, but that's one aspect I love of growing up being homeschooled because I had more time to do those things. So for them, we do a lot of sports because I have 5 boys and that's what they're into. So we about every night of the week have a different sports activity. We have church on Sunday. We have a thing called Awana. I don't know if you've heard of that, but Awana clubs. Yeah. So that is a club that they go to and they have game time and memory verse time. And it's pretty awesome. And I did that growing up as well. So they have that, they have sports. And then we have, our church has a thing called Life Group, which is a small group of just families. So kids their age, parents, and we just get together and, have a meal, have a Bible study. The kids hang out and play. And so those are kind of the main things that we do, but they're pretty much active with other kids. We also are part of a homeschool co-op, and it's around 200 moms and kids. So
wow.
Our co-op is 1 day a week that we go to. So it's like going to school 1 day a week and getting to know kids, and they're in a classroom setting. So we have that. I teach 1 hour and I assist 1 hour and then have a free hour, and then they go between classes. So it gives them an opportunity to learn from other adults that are not just me. Also other adults that have other giftings that I don't have. Mm-hmm. So my 7-year-old's taking a physics class this year. So we've got just some smart minds.
Yeah.
I don't have a science brain, so I will always turn to someone else that knows more. But yeah, so that's another thing that we do. So we're pretty much every day out hanging out with friends or meeting new people.
Right. Yeah. I know there is just kind of the stereotype around almost like if your kids are homeschooled, how are they going to know how to function in the world? Right. And it's like, I mean, like you said, there's so many weird people. Like kids are just weird in general.
They are. And they go through weird stages depending on their age too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know. So my sister homeschools, and math isn't her strong suit. And last year, her 8-year-old and her, like the way that she taught it, her 8-year-old just wasn't understanding it very well. So this year, she's 9 and she's in an online math class, and she absolutely loves it. Like she's like, I actually like math now, like learning it so well. And she has a son that's 12 and a daughter that's 9, and most of their classes are online now. But
that's awesome.
But yeah, so I've heard a lot about the co-op before. So it's just other kids who are homeschooled, and you get together once a week.
Yeah. Yeah. And co-ops are run differently. There's some co-ops where you drop your kids off and then they're taught by teachers that are kind of hired that you I guess, put money in to pay. But most of the ones that I know of, it's the moms go to, and then the moms all teach a class. And then just for ours, it's like you teach one class, you assist a class, and then you have a free hour that's a break, which is great. But then you're teaching where you are gifted, and it's not a stressor for you because you're not teaching something that you don't know how to teach. Mm-hmm. And then for my kids, math and science are also not my strong suit. So they're learning that while they're there as well. And then we also do actually a distance learning online program too, and which is great. But yeah, so for the co-op, it's actually time for moms to hang out as well. So I have a lot of friends that will be like, how do you get time with other women too when you're with your kids? And I'm like, you just have to make time. And that's, a lot of people drop out of the co-op because it's too much effort. But for me, it's well worth the effort for what you gain. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I appreciate the time, and then it's good for them too.
Yeah. All right, everybody. We are going to talk about the perfect bra that I found and why you should get one too. And that is the seamless lounge bra from Third Love. And one of the reasons that I love it is as a doula, when I'm going into births, and the other day I had a mama who we were in the shower for a while, and then she had to take off this wet bra to get dried off. And you're in the middle of labor trying to get this wet bra off over your head. And then I had another client that same week, actually, that she's in labor and then is getting an epidural. And again, she had to take off her gown to take off her bra so that she can get the epidural. And that's why I love the seamless lounge bra, because it's so comfortable. I would argue more comfortable than a sports bra, but it has the clasp in the back. So it's easy access. You're not trying to pull it off over your head during really inconvenient times, which is why I'm a huge advocate for this bra. I am not in labor, and nor have I ever been, but it's my go-to bra. I'm actually wearing it right now, and I wear it all the time because it's so comfortable, has the perfect fit, the clasp, and I love it. Another one of their other bras that I wear is the wide, thick strapped bra. It's the only underwire bra that I find comfortable and that I enjoy. So I can honestly say that Third Love has amazing options on their website, and there's over 15 million women who have taken their online Fit Finder quiz to find their perfect fit. They actually help you find your perfect fitting bra because so many women out there aren't wearing the right fit. It's crazy. And they promise a perfect fit. So every customer has 60 days to wear it, wash it, and put it to the test. And if you don't love it, you return it. And guess what? Third Love will wash it and donate it to a woman in need. So again, another company that gives back and that is doing awesome things. Returns and exchanges are free and easy, and it's hands down the most comfortable bra that you'll own. And I will tell you, this is coming from somebody who hates wearing bras, and theirs are actually the only bras that I wear. So definitely check out Third Love. And they know that there's a perfect bra for everyone. So right now they're offering the listeners 15% off your first order. Go to thirdlove.com/mamas now to find your perfect fitting bra and get 15% off your first purchase. That's thirdlove.com/mamas for 15% off today. Now back to the episode. Well, I was going to ask too, like, homeschooling sounds exhausting then because you have the kids at home. So it's like on top of just your normal momming duties, you're also homeschooling your kids. So it's like you're never off the clock, right? When you could be sending your oldest few away for the day so you can just spend time with the younger ones and maybe get more things done. Instead, you have all the kids all the time. So how do you, I guess, manage all of that?
It is tempting some days. It's like, would it be easier? For me, because I do work from home too, the online program has been a huge benefit. And I think that's what a lot of people aren't aware of, that there are so many different curriculums. And when you start homeschooling, you kind of have to learn which one's going to work for you. And I've used some incredible, amazing curriculums that I would recommend to other people that just didn't work for us because of my lifestyle, because of having a lot of younger ones, because of working. So I ended up using this online program, which has been wonderful. And that actually gives me some time. So I have 3 in school and then 2 that are under. So they'll come with me and we'll do little cleaning of the house, and they'll kind of sit and play quietly and I'll do some work. That works out well, but I do have to have breaks, and my husband realizes when I need a break, and he'll send me, like if he's home on a Friday, he's like, all right, time for you to go for an hour or 2. Mm-hmm. So I think it is important to know to schedule in those breaks if you have some kind of sitter or your husband or anything, just to get a moment. And I can come back so much better and so much more ready. So I guess that's my biggest thing, is know when you need that self-care time, but also it's worth it, even if it is a little bit more work. I keep coming back to like how worth it is, how well my kids are doing, and like more grounded that they are. And it just works for us. It's what's best, you know?
Yeah. What would be, I guess, I'm feeling at a loss for homeschooling questions. Like, are there any other questions that you tend to get over and over when it comes to homeschooling?
I do get like, I think what you were saying about your sister, like with not knowing, struggling with teaching math, I get like, well, are you really good enough? Because these teachers were trained for like all these years and everything. And here's the thing, we get a curriculum totally written out for us, even if you don't use an online program, you know?
Right.
And you can read through it. If you have questions, you can ask someone else who knows more. I think there are a lot of resources that people that don't homeschool might not be aware of. And so they think, well, how are you able to do this? Can you actually do it? I had someone ask me today on my Instagram, I used the, I hate the term balance, because I don't think we balance everything. We have priorities.
Right.
And we have priorities listed at different levels. And then my one friend told me last night, I thought this was a great analogy. She said, we all juggle, and we just have to know that some balls are glass balls and some are plastic. And we can let the plastic balls fall for a time and pick those back up, and they're not broken, and juggle them. But we can't let the glass balls drop. And so I was telling somebody that because I put a post up today about homeschooling, and I said, she said, you're a superwoman. I said, no, I'm not superwoman. I just prioritize certain things at certain seasons, and explain that. And that I had another woman that said, so is your children's education a glass ball or not? And I think that is what people think, like sometimes about homeschoolers. They're just being lazy. They're just sitting around and they're not doing anything. And I'm like, of course, that is 100% a glass ball. First of all, that's the law. Second of all, like, it's obviously very important to me. Then when I'm talking about plastic balls, I'm talking about, hey, I'm saying no to going out and doing this for this person today, you know, if I can't. Or I'm saying no to my house being perfectly clean and this picture perfect looking photo worthy home. You know, there's things like that I let go of. Of course, my child's education is not.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's a common maybe misconception. I think another one is that like, not only kids are weird, but like homeschooling moms are weird. I'm like, yeah, I remember as a kid saying, I will never marry a homeschooler. And like, just, I knew some weird ones, but my mom kept saying, well, there's also weird people in everywhere. So yes. And I never say never. I married a homeschooler.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think that saying that it's lazy parenting or something like that definitely is completely false, because if you don't know like what it's about and what's happening, you really can't judge it. Because I also know like my nephew who's 12 is already in excelled classes, and when he's 18, he'll graduate with his associate's degree. Like he's way ahead of kids his age already, because he's learning at his own pace and he enjoys it. Like he loves science, he loves engineering and those types of things already. So he does get the classes done that he has to, and then is able to focus on the things he loves. Whereas like his 9-year-old sister does the classes she has to, and then she focuses on the things she loves, which is like music and theater and stuff like that, So,
yes.
But I mean, they're already set up for success moving forward to where when they're 18, they can take a break and not worry about going to college right away because they're going to have their associates and they can try out the workforce and see what they love and figure out what they want to do and then go into college and go straight for a bachelor's,
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's more common. That's more what you see.
Right.
It's more what I see in the homeschooling community than the other. We did live, when I was growing up, we lived by a family who was not that way. And my mom, I just remember mom telling me, I think they like sit around on the couch and watch TV, and that happens, but it's very, very rare. And the majority that I see in my city and across the country are working even harder to get their kids set up in that, like for a situation like that.
Mm-hmm.
We have a girl that's a intern with our church right now to be a missionary. And she graduated high school at 16 and already at 16 had at least a year or so of college under her belt.
Oh my gosh.
And then went to midwifery school for 6 months. And now she's over in Norway at a school training. And so, she's 17 years old, but has like so much more life under her belt than you would have, at 20 something, mid 20s. So I think that's definitely more typical.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's also the same for parents whose kids are in public school. Like if they don't pay attention to their kids' homework and they're not like helping them out or helping them succeed in life, it's like,
right.
It's, you're going to get some parents in both situations who aren't the best at, helping educate their children. But I think for the most part, parents really want their kids to be successful and really want their kids to succeed in life and want them to learn that to try hard in school and, and really try at the things that you have to, even if it's not something you love right now.
Yeah. And a lot of misconception with homeschooling is that we just kind of do this on our own without any, I don't want to say supervision, but we have to turn in every year to our superintendent of schools. So and different states are different. But I know growing up in Pennsylvania, we had to turn in an entire, like a 3-ring binder with all of our material that we had worked on for the year. And then we would go through an interview process. And so there's standardized testing. And then for us, we turn in the amount of hours that we do. And so there is a process to that too. It's not just parents floundering, trying to figure out what to do. So there is a lot more connections that you have with your local school system too.
Right. Yeah. Have you heard of, there's like a big homeschooling mom convention?
Which I'm actually going to speak at one.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I don't know which one. I've heard of a few. Yeah. But I'm speaking at the Teach Them Diligently one. They have like 6 or 7 this year in different locations.
Yeah. One of my girlfriends who homeschools, she went to one last year and just had the best time ever. So I'm that's so fun. Like you just get to be with other moms who are in it and learn and grow together and know like I'm not alone because I'm sure it can feel isolating sometimes homeschooling because you're in your house with your kids all day long. I mean, not all day long. You probably get more outdoor time than kids in full-time school, but it's, you might, like you said, it can be sacrificial. Sometimes you're missing out on other things because you're making this choice for your family. And so I'm sure it's so nice just to be in community with like-minded women.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. I'm going to one in Nashville and one in Rogers in actually the end of February. So next week. And then at the end of March.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll be in those and I'm speaking 3 times at those, but I have several friends that are coming too. So I think it is going to be fun.
Yeah. That's so exciting. Awesome. So when are you due? You're doing 12 weeks. I'm trying to do the math.
Yeah, I am due May 10th. Yeah, May 10th.
Oh my gosh, that is so exciting. How do the older siblings feel so far?
They're excited. My kids are, I think they would want more kids than even I probably feel like I could handle. They love babies, especially my second. He is a baby lover. He was adamant it was twin girls. And when we found out it wasn't twins, he was very upset. But he's sticking with it's going to be a girl. And he actually said, I think in 5 days you'll get pregnant and it'll be a girl. And 5 days later is when I started the cycle that I got pregnant in. So I'm a little bit like, how much do you feel like you know? But yes, they're having fun with it. They're loving that we don't know the gender because my oldest and my fourth both want another brother. I'm like, don't you feel like you have enough? But okay. And then the middle two boys want a sister. And then the 2-year-old has no idea.
Right.
I mean, he's like, a baby doll. Great.
Right.
So, yeah, they're excited. Yeah, they've always been excited. They've always done really well with a new baby. We've never had a jealousy issue. I think part of that is because I have always made it their baby, too, instead of just, oh, wait, don't touch the baby. Be careful. I always like to let them hold the baby right away. We talk about it like it's their baby. They like helping take care of it. I say it because I don't know, but he or she, I guess. But they've always adjusted really well, and I think because we've always treated it as, hey, it's you know, you get to be the one who watches out for the baby too.
Yeah. That's so fun. I'm the youngest of 4, but like I said, my husband's like he wants 5 kids, and I don't know. We'll see what happens. I told him I want to be done at a certain age. I'd like to be done by the time I'm 40 and I'm 33. So I'm like, that's pretty tight quarters, squeezing in 5 kids. So
yeah, let's see. We did it. We had 6.5 years. So there you go. You could get 5 right before you're 40.
Oh, no. Oh. I don't think that's even physically possible. I don't think so.
Oh.
But yeah, so we're going to take them one at a time. I think we're down to like four kids now. I'm like, yeah, 4 is a good number. We could maybe do 4 in 6 years.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. We always adjust, you know, it's like people ask, did you think you'd have that many? And I'm like, well, I mean, we got married, like we both knew we wanted a lot, but I think at least in my mind, it was like 4 or 5 because I'm the oldest of 4. And he's the oldest of 5. So I think that was like my thought process. And it's funny, but I didn't feel like we had a big family until we hit 5 because I think I grew up with 4 and that was normal to me.
Right.
And that is a theory that I have. Most people think like just over what they grew up with might be like, whew, that's a lot. So yeah, and then, you know, now here we are at 6. So who knows?
Right. Do people ask you about like what it's like being a boy mom? Because they do say like being a boy mom and a girl mom are very different, and that like boys just always have this special place in your heart. And do people ask you kind of what it's like?
Yeah, they do. We get a lot of negative comments, unfortunately, too. One of the biggest comments we get is when they find out that I have all boys is, I'm sorry. That's what they'll say to me. And they'll say it in front of the boys, which I hate because I'm like, no, that's not okay. Like, I'm not sorry. You don't need to say you're sorry that they're all boys. But yeah, I get asked that a lot. I think in my opinion, boys are, you know, I think girls can be just as wild too, but I think a all boy house is wilder, more destructive, rougher, a whole lot of wrestling. But I have 2 slightly more emotional ones, but overall probably less emotional altogether, you know?
Yeah.
So I think girls and boys can be either, but I think as a whole, since I have a house full of boys, it's more chaotic in some ways, but less drama maybe.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I could raise a girl because I am a girl, so I feel like I could relate. And then when it comes to boys, I feel like I'd have no clue. All I picture is them like missing the toilet and that it's disgusting. So I'm like,
that does happen. That does happen a lot.
But I've heard boys are kind of easier because of the less emotional aspect, I guess. I mean, obviously they go through hormonal changes and emotions as well, but I feel like a girl would be easier just because I'm a girl, so I can relate, but
yeah. And I grew up, I had one brother and there was 3 of us girls. So we were a very girl run house, like very, my brother just kind of went with it. It's like, okay. So because of that, I felt like, I don't know what I'm going to do with a boy, but when they come as babies, they're all pretty much the same as babies, right? And you get time to adjust into it. So you just kind of see where their interests are and what they love. And I mean, I guess for me, I don't know the difference of raising a girl. I just know what it was like growing up with sisters. So I couldn't probably tell you for sure the major differences.
Yeah, I can imagine though the wrestling and the craziness. My brother and sister-in-law, they have 2 boys, just 2, and they're always wrestling and they're like a year and a half apart. So they're just,
oh yeah,
it definitely is. I'm like, me and my sister didn't quite beat up on each other that much.
No. I mean, I feel like someone is always getting hurt. We're just like waiting. Okay. Who's going to get hurt? Right. Who's going to jump on top of someone else, kick someone else off the couch? Mm-hmm. But I don't know. They're strong.
Yeah, kids are definitely super resilient. So I know that you also do a bunch with essential oils. So before we get off, I was wondering if you have any tips for this cold season of something that we could diffuse in our house, or we could rub on our kids' feet, or just something to help boost our immunity and stay healthy during what they're saying is one of the worst flu seasons of like ever. And just everything else that's happening.
Oh man. Yeah. So I actually use the Young Living brand. So for me, I use a lot of thieves in the winter, which, depending on your brand is called different things, but,
I know for doTERRA, it's On Guard.
On Guard. That's it. Yes. Yeah. And our speech therapist uses that. And so she has the On Guard, always going in the bathroom, and then when you wash your hands, it's there too. But yeah, for me, I have a thieves roller, and we use that on the kids' feet, and then I diffuse it. I like lemon with it too, for cleaning, thieves and lemon. I have like the glass spray bottles, go to town all over the counters and the doorknobs. Yeah. We use that. And then I have I've had a lot of congestion, obviously just with pregnancy, but also with sickness going around. And so we have one called Breathe Again. And so I put that on my chest, under my nose, everything like that. And then another one is probably not related to cold season, but is related to homeschooling, is Stress Away is the oil that I use. And I use it on my jawline and down my neck.
You hear the kids screaming. You're just rolling it all over yourself.
Oh, get it going. Yes. Yes. And then we use another one called Valor. And I think it's like Bravery, or maybe it's something similar like that in the doTERRA. But I love the Valor. My husband, that's his favorite. And I think with being a pastor, it's supposed to give you like strength and bravery and just ability to face the day. And so my kids love that one too. I diffuse that one a lot as well. But I use the Ningxia Drink, which is an antioxidant drink. And I take that every day just as an immune support for me and for the kids. The kids kind of use it here and there. My husband and I use it mostly. I guess those are kind of my biggest things. I'm trying to think. You might help jog my memory maybe.
Yeah, no, so my sister sent me a recipe with a cleaning, and she uses Thieves, and I made a homemade cleaner, and I absolutely love it because I also love the way that it smells. I've realized I'm so sensitive. Well, a while ago, I got rid of all the harsh chemicals in our house, and I was just doing tons of research on endocrine blockers and how they disrupt our hormones, and they just wreak havoc on your body. So, and I've already dealt with balancing my hormones and all of that. So, I'm like, okay, I'm getting rid of all this stuff, and I made a homemade cleaner, which I actually love the way that it smells. And, and I feel like it works really, really well. I'm diffusing right now because I was telling you before we got on the call, I've been super congested. So, I'm super into all of that. I feel like just all the same ones that you mentioned, I've been using the same things. I just started a few days ago, and I did it for 2 days, and I started feeling better, and then I didn't for 2 days, and then it came back. So I'm like, I have to do it again because but also for my congestion, sometimes if I'm in a shower, like in a hot shower, just drop 1 drop of eucalyptus in there, and it helps like you just feel like you breathed in a giant Hall's cough drop, but it feels good for sure.
Yeah. I actually also have thyroid disease, which affects a lot of areas of my life, but it is like a fatigue thing, and that's just been a struggle. So, and there is an oil called Endoflex, and I use that along with I'm on prescription thyroid medicine too, but just as an additional supplement to help. And that is, like you said, I have like hormone problems that I have just had to figure out, what do I get rid of? What do I add in? And so it's a constant battle of that. But that is a major reason why I got into the oils, is just for me, for support physically, emotionally, and the hormonally, you know?
Yeah.
So that's a big thing for me. And a big reason why I use it. And then my kids don't go to sleep they like beg me every night for sleepy eyes, it's called. And it's like a kid's, it has lavender in it and a few other oils, but it's just a kid's nighttime sleep. So they have a diffuser in their room, and they want that in there every night.
Yeah. There's tons of tips and tricks on oils to use with kids in different phases. I know for like teething and different things. I know cloves great. You have to make sure that you dilute it really well, though. I know someone who made the mistake of not diluting it, and poor kid was screaming. But
oh man.
But for me, it definitely is an emotional thing as well. I know when I'm not feeling very grounded and I'm having trouble sleeping, I like to diffuse white fir. And it's I like woodsy smells, and it's just so earthy and grounding. And I love the winter, and I love the mountains. And so I'm just like, I'm sleeping in a cabin with the window open, and like, it's just so grounding to me.
You'd probably like a cedar wood. Have you tried that one at night?
Yep.
Yeah. My husband loves that too, with the woodsy. I mean, I do too, but he's especially loves the woodsy smell. So sometimes I'll do that and lavender together, because I'm like, breathe it in.
Yeah. But it definitely, the thieves or On Guard, just things like that definitely help their immunity boosting. The benefit of oils is it actually can penetrate the cell wall, whereas a lot of medications that you're taking can't. So it's great as a proactive move to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, there's also a place for medicine and things like that. But it's also great to be doing things to boost your kids' immunity and to try to keep them healthy before it gets to that point.
Yeah. And I always like when people, for me, because I do it also as a little side business, like when people join with me, I'm like, okay, we are going to get you in all the Facebook groups, because if you don't know how to use the oils, you're overwhelmed with it. And I think people don't know, like, okay, well, how do I best help the kids? What oils do I get? Where do I put it at? And so I think like getting into a group so that you are aware of how to use it is one of the best things that you can do. Other people that have more knowledge. And I'm constantly asking other people questions, because I've not been on it long either. And so for me, I'm like, okay, so what do I use for this? Or how do I use it for this?
Yeah.
So I think that's a big deal.
Yeah. I got into it like 11 years ago. And so I've been using oils forever. But I haven't always been consistent with it. And I just realized you go through different seasons in your life. So when I was single in my 20s, like I used, and working all the time, I used different oils than I do now. Like, and I use them in my doula practice and stuff like that. So, every birth I go to, I set up the diffuser, I get good smells going. A lot of women, here's a quick tip for anybody planning on going into labor anytime soon. If you just have like a paper fan, a lot of women will get super nauseous during labor. And if you put 1 drop of peppermint on it and just have somebody fan you when you're hot and during a contraction, when you feel nauseous, it helps so much. Like I was actually at a birth yesterday. And I was doing some counter pressure. I was like fanning her, but then I was doing counter pressure. She's like, somebody fan me with the peppermint because it was helping, so it's just nice for things like that. But it's definitely something that if you want to get into oils, read about them, use how to use them right and properly. And, because they can really do some amazing things, but it's important to be educated on anything. Like you wouldn't blindly. Well, some people blindly take things. I've definitely done it before. I'm like, oh, I heard that this herb can help this. And I'm like, I don't know how it's going to affect my body because I don't know the state of my body. I don't know, it's important to do your research on everything. But for sure, I'm a huge oil person. I love using them all the time. And now I'm turning my husband on to it too.
I think it's amazing that you do all of this and the doula work.
I love it. I love it. I had a busy week. I had a birth on Thursday and one yesterday. And I feel like it's awesome. I love it. I definitely feel like I have to emotionally and physically unwind after births. And so like last night I was so tired. I couldn't even stand in the shower. I was just sitting in the shower, like scrubbing my armpits, just sitting in the shower, in the hot shower, just like, I'm like, I just really need to wash my arms and my armpits and my face and brush my teeth. And I was just done for. But it's, I love the work.
Would you, do the same whenever you had, like, would you have a doula whenever you had a baby or?
Yeah.
Because you know so much, would you or not?
Yes. Well, absolutely. So my husband and I have been talking a lot about family planning and everything like that. And so we came to a compromise. That's why I was asking you about the home birth thing, because I'm like, we're talking about it. But our plan, I work with a midwife practice now, and I absolutely love them. So, and it's kind of like the rooms have birthing tubs and things like that. So we would have our first kid there. And if everything went well, the next one at home. And I got to be my sister's doula with her last couple labors. And so she's going to be mine. And so she knows what to do. And so that's the plan. But if she couldn't make it for some reason, I absolutely would have a doula there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I love it. And I'm like, I love watching birth. It's so, every single time I cry, I'm like, oh God, these people are going to think I'm so weak. I do this all the time.
I would too, man. I would too. I have like, this is funny. I have had friends call me, they're like texting doula, which I don't do it as a profession in any way, but a lot of them don't have a doula and they'll just text me throughout labor.
Yeah.
Is this normal? Or what do I say to this? What do I do here? And so I'm like, I feel so much a part of it and I'm not even there. I can only imagine if I was there.
You're like supplying the emotional and all of that support via text, which is good too. Yeah. It's awesome that they have you to do that, because it's important to feel like you have somebody who knows what you want and who's on your side and that you can ask questions to or get advice from. So
right.
That's really important. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Ariel. I had such a great time talking with you, and I'm super excited for this episode to come out. I haven't talked to anybody yet about homeschooling or home birth, really.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'm super excited that people will get to hear this side of life as well.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited for it to come out. And also,
Awesome. Thank
for
you.
people listening, where can they find and follow you at?
Yeah, my Instagram is where I'm at the large majority of the time, and that is at ARIELC Tyson. And then I do have a website, although I probably should update it more than I do, but that's just arieltyson.com. And then I'm on Facebook, would be the same, Ariel C. Tyson, as my Instagram. But those are the main places that I'm mostly at.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you again so much for coming on.
Thank you.
All right. She is just a good time. I feel like we would be best friends if she lived here. I think also because she lives in Montana, and I love Montana. That's where Vito and I got married, and we are huge Montana people, and I miss the mountains a lot. So that when I saw she lived in Montana, I'm like, I want to be her best friend. And then after talking to her, I'm like, yeah, I want to be her best friend. She's just such a cool lady. Her Instagram account's really fun to follow, so definitely check her out there. If you guys are listening to the podcast, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and leave a review. Tell me why you love listening to Miraculous Mamas, and tell me what your favorite episode is. I would love to hear from you guys. Make sure you rate it 5 stars and tell me what you love. Also, again, check out the Miraculous Mamas Instagram and our Facebook group and Twitter. And don't forget to share this episode with somebody who you know would love it as well. I love you guys. Next week, we have an awesome guest on. And also, I believe Vito and I are making an announcement. I don't know. I need to talk to him about it, actually. So in the next few weeks, Vito and I are going to do an episode together and just share some news with you guys, update you on our lives and what's been going on. We love to just check in every once in a while. Again, we have so many people on here that share so much with us, and we would love to share part of our lives with you guys as well. So I will keep you posted on when that will be for sure. We definitely have some awesome guests coming up that I'm really excited about. We're going to do an episode on body image here very soon with Katie Crenshaw. We're going to talk to an awesome lady, Sevilla, who shares with us why she started this thing called Childless Not by Choice, because not everyone can have a child, and it's a category that's often skipped over. So her story's very powerful, and I can't wait for you guys to hear from her as well. So just stay tuned to all of the upcoming events and podcasts and episodes, and I'm so excited to be sharing all of this with you. Love you guys. We'll talk to you next week.